Hello and welcome back. I'm Lincoln, and today's the 30th of October, which means our prompt for the day is candy corn. And I ended up making a candy corn cob, which I thought would be kind of fun because we're going to use some new tools today. All right, I'll put up the rest of the prompt list now. As you can see from today's sculpt, I'm going to show you how to use the new radial symmetry and array functions we have access to now. As always, I'll have chapters in the description below so you can skip ahead if you like. All right, let's grab your tablet or other device. Well, let's go make a candy corn cob. All right, for this one, we're going to get rid of the default sphere, and we're going to add a cone, which is kind of a gimme for candy corn. Now, I know this isn't like a terribly complicated one, but what we're going to do is use the rotational copy and array to make like a corn cob when we're done making the actual candy corn. So this one we can go ahead and validate. We're going to use the trim brush. And I only need the X enabled, so we're good. Lasso and symmetry, and we're just gonna kind of slice that off. And we'll do a little bit back here. And symmetry, just even if it's on that, it just kind of allows you to get a little bit better cut because it'll be the same. It'll average out between the two cuts. So that's good enough right there, I think. We'll smooth that and fatten it up a little. So I'm going to go ahead and remesh it, which will be fine. Whatever it's set at, it's good. Flatten it. Just kind of knock the edges down. Now you could set this on 2 axes to do all your symmetrical sculpting, but at some point I'm okay with, whoops, that was way too big. With having, some asymmetry, not a big deal. All right, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and remesh this again. Use the gizmo, fatten this up quite a bit. And that looks about right. And then we're going to finish our smoothing and flattening. So I'm going to use the flatten brush again and just kind of hit the high spots. All right, it's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to give this a little more rounding features. So use the inflate brush on pretty big and whoops, not on sub. That's probably a little, yeah, it's a little much. Too intense. A little bigger. Should just take one swipe to round it off. That looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to kind of finish flattening things out and smoothing it. So I'll smooth it first, kind of see where we're at. And that actually, I think looks good. We'll leave it. Kind of smooth that down until it's kind of, yeah, that looks good. Okay, knock that hard edge off there just a little bit. It's a little harder than I want. So we'll knock that down just a little. Smooth it. Knock this side down since I don't have symmetry on this side too. Smooth. All right, now you see got the lines there. We'll just knock those down. All right. Now I'm going to give the last couple little bits of shape it needs. Needs a little bit of narrowing because it's a little, it's kind of long, and they usually have a little bit of shape right there. So I'm going to use the inflate brush and maybe, it'd probably be better just to use the move brush on big, and we'll just move this out just a little bit, give it just a little bit more shape. Looks pretty good. I like that. It's got just a little bit of shape to it. All right, gonna leave it on the inflate brush, bring this down. Now, if you're in the previous tutorial, I'm going to show you up here, now that we've kind of started doing this now, I've got the pressure. You would find this one on both of your pressures and radius and intensity, but I usually leave it here if I'm doing kind of a shape sculpt like this, because you can use your pressure for it. So come down, and that is way too big. All right, so we go on the back side. We don't have it yet, so let's come here and we will go to symmetry, and we're looking for that plane line to come across, and that's what we want right there. So now should be on both sides. Smooth. Knock that down a little, and then I'm going to use a flatten brush just to knock the height off of it, because it's still just a little tall. And that looks pretty good, and we'll smooth that. So I know this is another one that's pretty simple sculpt, not a big deal. And I'm going to leave it just like that. That looks fine. What we're going to do is get this back around to the front. Because I'm in trackball instead of turntable. So if you're in turntable, it's a little bit easier to move things around. That's pretty good right there. All right, so to paint it, we can just paint the whole thing one color. So oops, not that one. Now we want some roughness because you don't want it super shiny. They're always kind of a dull color with waxy color with just a little bit of shine, maybe just a tiny little bit. Okay, that looks about right. I'll keep hitting that one. I'll always paint the whole thing orange first. And right there looks good, so we'll paint all. Now let's use the select mask, and we'll just use the rectangle on symmetry. We'll turn symmetry off, it doesn't matter. And right somewhere in there is good. And we're going to tap on the mask to soften it. So we want it as soft as it'll go. All right, that's good. Now we need to flip the mask, and we'll paint that the yellow. So I'll pick a nice yellow, nice bright yellow, looks good. Paint that. All right, so now we can drag and pull the mask. We'll come down here and grab somewhere in there for the white. Gonna flip the mask, soften it once again, just as soft as it'll go. And this is an easy one to go to. Paint all, done. Grab your mask and pull. Okay, so now we have our basic candy corn. Ooh, I was not doing that right. I had that only set on one side, so let's fix that. If that happens, go back to your select mask, go up here to the brush icon and click off front facing vertex only. Totally screwed that one up. All right, let's try that again. Actually, if we do, yeah, it doesn't really matter. We can go all the way here. We'll do the white. Since we already have that one set. Paint all. All right, grab the mask. Back here. Grab the yellow. Paint all. And drag the mask, done. So the way the mirror system set up is you need to move this object off of the center of the world because it's going to mirror off the object through the center of the world. So turn on the grid, and we're going to go ahead and rotate this. We got snap back on, rotate it. Now what we're going to do is just move this off of the center world of your blue and red center point. Now when we go to mirror this time, now you have exactly what you want. So you can just click on here and just drag however many you want. So that looks pretty good right there. So we'll drag it there. Okay, so now if we validate this, and don't join the children, if you do, we won't be able to do anything else with these. And I'll show you in a second because I want to pull some off too, so we can't join the children. So just hit confirm. Now I want to stack them. Now that we have this ring set up, we want to add an array. Now the array, you just have to figure out which one you want, and that's not the one we want. So it has the count too, so let's just go back to 1, and whichever one, this is the one we want. Now the cool thing is, now that we have these up, I want to have a few more, so let's do a few more. Now we can grab this one, the offset, and bring the offset down. And I want them fairly tight because I'm going to rotate the rings. So let's go maybe 2 more. That's probably plenty. And by the time we rotate those, it's just maybe about right there maybe. All right, so let's validate that. Don't join the children again because we're going to rotate the rings. Hit yes. Now when you open this up, you have all these already preset, and it's all the different rings. So I'm going to grab the first one, and we know which one it is, so you can just rotate it. I'm just going to rotate. Oh, we don't want snapping because it'll do 90. But rotate it. Whoops, I still don't have the right one picked. I want this one right there. Okay. You can pick this one, so you know it's that one. Grab this one. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's super cool what they have set up in here now as far as being able to rotate things and do the arrays. The arrays are super cool. Because normally you would have had to have done all of this manually. All right, so now to make this a little more convincing, we're going to start on one end and just shrink them down. So if this is the large size, we'll go up maybe, we'll just start shrinking them just a fuzz at each set. So at this set, we'll shrink down just a hair. The next set, shrink down just a little more. And just shrink all these to fit. And the reason I didn't want to join children is because if we had joined children, we would not be able to, we wouldn't have been able to rotate the rings. They would have all been a static set. So, and if you mess up, it's not that hard to tap back and figure out where you need to go. Here I'm just going to tighten them all up a little bit. It's just a matter of working everything until you get set right where you want. But the new rotational copy and the array setup is so nice. And as you guys have known before, you couldn't do any kind of validated object that had been sculpted on or painted or anything before, and been able to do anything like this. Let's turn the grid off. All right, so I'm going to add just a cylinder to put a stick in there and corn cob basically. So let's just go up to the top and add a cylinder. Now we're going to go in here and just remove it off that. I don't want it attached. We'll just go up here, I guess, but it wants to be that way. Okay, now this one, we're going to stretch it up, shrink it down. So this one will do the cob basically with it. Maybe a little bigger because it's bigger on this end. So if you need to do that, which is cool because it's it's shaped a little bit, hit your radiuses and bring it down because I want the white showing on these. So come in here and we'll just adjust. And this one is not too far off. Whoops. This one's not too far off. I want to adjust grabbing them. And then this one's encompassing them all. So let's just shrink it down. There we go. And bring it up just a hair because I'm going to shape it a little. And we can go ahead and validate this one. Subdivide it, validate it. Go to the flatten tool, solo, and just kind of shape it a little. Nothing too crazy. Okay. And go back away from solo. Let's add one more cylinder. And I could have cloned that one to begin with, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. Let it stick out. This one down. And this one, maybe paint that one. Make that one more of like a little bit darker yellow, and bring shine this up like a candy a little more. There we go. And this one, I'm not going to worry about putting a texture on it, but you could if you wanted to. I'm just going to paint it brown. Call it good. And paint all. So now the cool thing is since we didn't join all these children, we can come through here and delete a few. So let's open up these cones. You don't even have to open them up really. We can just leave it. You just click on a few and delete a few. And make it look like somebody's been munching on it. And to make it a little bit more, oops, not what I wanted to do. There we go. And then make it a little bit more believable. Oops, wrong size. Sub, get way down, and just put some little spots in there where the candy corn was. And those could be a little sharper, but that'll be good enough for this. But pretty cool. So I hope you guys learned something on this using the rotational copy and the array setups. All right, if you guys are liking these tutorials and you're learning anything, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. All right, thanks.